Yeah, g'day and welcome back to my channel. Now when I got my surface grinder, I also got a dust extraction system with it, but I haven't tried it out yet. So let's get it running today. Right, before I start, I'd just like to point out that I'm going to do a members and Patreon live stream later today. So 9 o'clock Central European time. Please come and join me. So for the test grinds I've done so far, I just bodged my battery powered shop vac onto here, which has been largely ineffective and will probably sooner or later result in sparks melting a hole in this pipe. So let's get rid of that. Right, now the main reason I haven't tried this out yet is there's no cable on it. So what have we got to work with here? Well, it's a 3-phase motor. This is the inlet tube. Air sucked down here, so it goes underneath by the looks of it. So the suction's coming in through this dust collection chamber, going up into 6 canvas bags, and then the now clean air in this compartment vents out through the top. And the way those canvas bags are mounted with that big hole at the bottom makes them kind of self-emptying, because every time you turn the machine off, any dust they've trapped should just drop down into this to be removed. There are doors here to seal those openings, both at the top and the bottom, although I just noticed that the bottom one's missing part of its felt seal. The covers must have had a day off on Smurf shit blue paint day. So the usage instructions are on the other side of this panel. Hooray! Hooroo. They're kind of translucent. To maintain efficiency, clean the filter regularly, and empty the dust container when full. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Not much useful information left on that, I'm afraid. There's also this mechanism, which I think just shakes the bags and shakes all the dust off them. Let's get some power onto this motor and see if it actually works. Hey, that's interesting. Looks like there's oilers to run grease or oil down to the bearings of this motor. That's kind of cool. Nice little maintenance consideration. It's also got this awful blue paint slopped on it. Looks like one leg of this is cracked and a bit bent. Nice little data plate there. Shame someone slopped paint over it. It's going to want a good cleanup at some stage. Right, looking at this housing, it looks like the strain relief gets sort of mounted onto the top here somehow. So I must be missing the bits that do that function. And seeing as it's already bent, I'll have a think about whether I want to just redesign a cover and 3D print it with the strain relief in it, or whether I'll try and straighten this and just make these inserts. But for testing, let's just hook it up without strain relief. Squirt a bit of oil down those bearings. I guess grease has been used in the past. If there's already grease in the tubes, I'll use a bit of oil just to hydraulic it down a bit further. Hopefully get a wee bit of grease into the bearings. Sooner or later I'm going to be pulling this down to clean it up anyway, and wash out the bearings then. Well, it tells us which way to turn, so let's plug it in and see if I got the phase right. Well, the bearings seem pretty good. Something's hitting there slightly. Right, so this is the vacuum entry here, and I've got this transition duct to mount to it. Now, unfortunately, the flange on this end's in pretty bad shape. Someone's tried to do a couple of weld repairs on it. It's got cracks in it, broken out mount holes. I can give it a bit of panel beading to flatten it, but really I need to make a new flange for it and weld it on. There's a bit of a booger of weld there I'm going to need to knock off. Right, not perfect, but good enough for a starter. Obviously this is going to have to come off and get properly sealed and stuff, but just want to first see how it's going to work. Now, while these canvas bags seem to be in a really nice condition, and they probably do a very good job of picking up the worst of the grit, you know, the sort of stuff that gives you the black boogers. I think the modern science is that the fine stuff that would get through there is probably far more damaging to the lungs over time. What I'd like to do is use this as like a pre-filter and then put some finer filter behind it. So here's my air exhaust across here. And if we look behind this grill, you can see there's actually some metal strip under there, so the air output area is pretty limited. It's only probably 1/2 inch by 40 centimeters. Now I'm going to want a high effectiveness particle accelerator, HEPA filter, I don't know what they're called. I want a good filter behind this, but because I don't really know how much back pressure the system can deal with, to start with, I've bought the easiest filter I could get, and that was just one from IKEA. So this one's nice and big. I think for a starter I'll just make it easy and make it sit on top like that. Sit sort of just behind here. So I'm going to need some dimensions. I don't expect this to be the final design. This is more a cheap and nasty proof of concept. Once I get this working, I'll do something a little more permanent with a proper HEPA filter. So that's 29 centimeters by 37. Right, well that's given me a detailed design. One thing I do notice with myself when it comes to making something out of wood is I like to do a half-assed job of the design, have things not really fit in that, and then spend hours filing to fit and doing rework. It's just the way I tick, I guess. Right, the next day I did a bunch of cutting, sawing, planing and gluing, and now these parts are coming together. Bit of a non sequitur, but how does vehicle inspection for roadworthiness work in your country? Over here in Austria, I think your first 2 years of a new car there's no inspections, but after that it's an annual inspection and it's pretty intensive. It can only be done by approved organizations. They have to have a dynamometer for doing brake testing. I guess it's a powered dynamometer, well, rolling floor anyway, to actually test the power of your brakes. They have to be able to do exhaust emissions testing and all that sort of stuff. The reason I'm asking, my car just failed. I got snagged for 4 different defects. 2 of them are minor, they don't have to be repaired, but these 2 I have to do. The first one is my brake fluid's boiling point's below 150 Celsius and more than 2% water, so I've got to do a brake fluid change. And the second one is a bit an unusual one, I think. It's the rear blinkers. The bulbs are supposed to be yellow, but they've leached out over the years and they're too white. So I've got to replace the bulbs on my blinkers at the back. This is just my rear axle's got a bit of rust on it. And yeah, some of the front suspension rubber parts are starting to get a bit old and porous and got cracks and stuff. Oh wow, good eye from the inspector. It's weird how that coating's kind of flaking off. Okay, the tabs on those bulbs are not symmetrical. I must say I like the fastening system that Audi uses. This is very simple. Well, I'm not sure it really makes that much difference, but with the replaced bulbs and with fresh brake fluid in the system, I passed inspection, and so the car's good for another year. Right, well, while I'm in maintenance mode, this element's died and needs replacing. But hey, what have we got here? Ah, yum. Mrs. Rotary's left a pie unsupervised.
I'm actually in the room.
Nice pie, thanks.
Glad you like it.
Okay, we've owned this oven for 29 years, and because we like it so much, we don't want to replace it. I've already replaced, I think, this element and this element. This time it's the big one. I already dropped the 3-phase breaker. So this is the one that's died. I do find it incredible that Bosch still has spare parts support for a 29-year-old household device. Their website's fantastic. Once you've got that E number for the device, you've got a parts catalog breakdown straight away.
I said, now I also get a piece of the apple pie.
Yeah, good on you. Mail time. So how's this wired up? Starting here, that's 1A. We've got a black wire jumpering across to the other terminal block. Can't see any markings on that. I guess I'm going to have to pull that to read it. So between the old and the new one, they've switched these two blocks over. This terminal block used to have 3 terminals, but the center terminal is soldered with a jumper across to here. And now there's only 2 removable terminals on it. I wonder if they've now internally jumpered that. I'll have to take it off and see how we get that wiring to be the same. It's not obvious whereabouts it disconnected. Comparing old and new, you can see here on the old one that because you've got 2 different coils, like inner and outer, they come together here, and that's that black jumper. So you've got the outer coil here, and the inner coil goes probably down and around it does its thing here. And on the new one, the outer terminal's here, the inner terminal's there, and that common is the one down here with the jumper. With the built-in jumper, I don't need to worry about this wire anymore. However, I do need to swap over the 2 element connections, because on the old one, this was the outer element, and on the new one, that's the inner. Now the hard part is getting enough length in the cables to get them all into position. Since they're swapping sides, these 2 red ones are obviously the power windings, so they need to go over, they're going to be over here. Here there's a reasonably short orange one, which is going to be my most limiting one, I'd say. Where'd my black one go? So first one's on, here's the second one. Black's going to go down here. Yellow goes to 1B. Now I'm going to guess even with high temperature wire, it would be better if those didn't cross the element. I think I've got enough length in the loop there to turn them around. So let's just do that. Okay, bolted down. Right, that's this one. Light came on. It's heating up. Big. This is the light that it's now hot, so that's a sensor position. I'm not getting a selection for the big element. Okay, well, I've just talked to Mrs. Rotary, and the little element always worked. Problem was you couldn't switch on the extension. So maybe I've been working on the wrong problem. Maybe the issue's not the element, but that sensor. That must be this one here. I've already turned off the power. Maybe I replaced the wrong part. I've looked up the part number of this board. Not available, not even used. I couldn't find any on eBay or anything else. Took a look at the obvious things, like the Elco doesn't look like it's blown or anything. There's nothing obvious there. Bit of discoloration on the corner down here maybe. If anyone has any ideas of how I could go about fixing this. It would be nice to hear your thoughts, because the only other option I've seen is there is a whole complete element module on eBay Germany. So I could just try buying a whole used module, either strip it down as a spare parts provider or just switch it out. Yeah, any ideas on how I could possibly get that fixed, I'd appreciate it. All right, well, I'll put it back together at least. So we can still cook with it, it's just that big double element is kind of one of the ones we use the most. It's kind of annoying. Right, fair bit of cutting little bits out and sticking them together later. I've got most of my filter box finished. Just need a back on it. I think I'll use plywood for that. Now I'll just give it a quick rub down. Right, let's have a look and see how this filter fits. Ah yeah, fantastic. Fits basically perfectly. Gets held down by this little frame. Before I screw that down for the last time, let's give it all just a quick layer of shellac. Right, well that's not the prettiest paint job I've ever done. Oh, shellac's not a bad glue. To seal the interface with the dust extractor, I found some leftover brush seal material. I think that should work well. To hold it down so it doesn't get blown off, I'll just use a strap around it. Right, I'll just plug this in and give it a test to see whether it can actually withstand the pressure of the blower. Wait a minute, there is no pressure there, as long as these doors are off. Right, let's plug that in and try that again. Okay, that seems to work well with no leaking or anything. Right, for the duct I've got my 75mm drain pipe. Now that's a bit bigger than this, so probably need to make up some sort of an adapter, but to start with I'm just going to stuff it on there. Sure, dust's going to get caught around the outside, but that's something I can deal with. Right, now in terms of height, the head's now at its lowest position, and up here must be about its highest. So I guess I'm going to want this at about halfway. So let's call it about here. Now to connect the aluminium flex pipe to the drain pipe, I cut the top of this lip off so that it fits inside. And then I drew up a seal and printed this in TPU. I drew this up in Onshape. Now I'm really happy that Onshape have taken me into their affiliate program. Fantastic, I've always really liked using it. There's a link below. If you'd like to try their pro version, please do. Oops, wrong way around. The seal fits nicely. Oh, there we go. And then to secure the two parts together, I drew up these clamps, printed out 2 of them. They grip the lip there and the seal, and they're tight enough that as you clamp it up, the seal compresses and grips the aluminium. The combination of modern CAD programs and 3D printers is just a game changer. Now the last joint I need is just this one. I initially had a bed adhesion problem and got a spaghetti print, but that was addressed by putting a brim just to add a little more surface area down to the build plate, and then it worked fine. This was printed in ASA. Right, well, I wanted to do a quick trial fit of this, but it grips onto that pipe so perfectly I can't take it back off for filming. It's looking good. We'll do a test grind with the dust extraction and see how it works out. To get a feel for how much of the dust misses the extractor, let's put down a bit of paper. Okay, well, the good news, it's a much tidier installation than before, and I don't need to use the silly batteries. I think it does pick up more dust than the shop vac did, which kind of makes sense. It's a much larger tube. While certainly an improvement on the dust extraction I had before, there's still plenty of stuff that's getting past, so it's not ideal. It also sounds an awful lot better than a small vacuum cleaner or a shop vac. However, it's not effective enough that I'm going to rely on this as my only way of keeping dust out of the place. For the lungs, I'm still going to wear a cartridge mask when I'm working with the grinder. I still think a better solution is going to be using coolant for a number of reasons, maybe capturing some of the dust being one of them. And luckily a coolant tank's come up for sale in the local classifieds, and I'm going to take a look at it tomorrow. So I'm expecting to end up using the surface grinder with both coolant and dust extraction at the same time to try and minimize the amount of dust flying around. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, and I'd recommend that you next watch the video that comes up here because it should be the right one for you.